Chapter 1. The relationship between the mind and your feelings. Philosophers and scientists have strived to grasp the full workings of the mind and feelings for ages. Different theories have been proposed to discuss the workings of the mind, how it is interconnected with emotions and feelings. It may be surprising to see emotions and feelings mentioned apart. No need to worry. It will be fully explained in the second section of this part. An indisputable point that will form the underlying theme of this section is that the mind, feelings, and emotions are all mental states that affect our actions in speech or deed. It goes as far as affecting our creativity or the curtailing of it. To know how to make the most of your situation and manage the ups and downs, the relationship of the mind and your feelings need to be understood. This section discusses the mind and feelings independently. It further goes on to relate them in a bid to help you learn to take charge of your feelings using the mind. When an individual is asked to recount a deep and painful experience, some parts of it may well be recollected, but not all. Why is this so? What houses such repressed mental contents, and do they influence our actions? You will be primed to find out the answers to these questions when you fully understand the working of the mind. Improved self-worth, reduced emotional upheaval, and a better position to attain goals in life are some benefits associated with gaining control of the mind. Knowledge of the mind is the first step needed in controlling it. So what exactly do you need to know about the mind? 1.1. What you should know about the mind. The first step to changing your world is changing your mindset. How can you go about changing your mindset if you do not even understand how the mind basically works and why there is a need to take charge of it and change it? One of the most complex things in the universe is the human brain. You do not need to be a philosopher, neuroscientist, or brain surgeon to care about how it performs its functions. The brain can be likened to a self-operating computer in the human skull, controlling all our activities. Similar to a computer's hardware, it consists of memory, power connections, processing power, storage, and wiring, which are all needed in carrying out our daily human tasks. The computer is made of both hardware and software. Just as the brain has been compared to the hardware components of a computer system, the mind pictures the software part. It functions as the operating system, gathering, managing, and storing information. It uses the brain's resources to process data. As the computer system is inoperable when the hardware and software components are separated from each other. This also applies to the brain and mind. They make up the same entity and cannot operate in isolation. About 100 billion neurons, or nerve cells, found in the human brain forms the central nervous system, CNS. These nerve cells receive and transmit electrochemical signals. These signals are your emotions, thoughts, actions, and the reflexes undergone by the body. It is the mind that generates the thought that remains a fact in the midst of all the ongoing research surrounding it. Consciousness. The mind is not something outside that can be pinpointed. It is not an object. It is invisible but not is the same category as force fields such as electricity and gravity. From its physical effects, we can infer its existence just like those of the force fields given as instances above. It is only different from these force fields in that it can be directly perceived through feelings, thoughts, and memories. We can only experience our own minds on a personal basis. The mind is made up of different layers of consciousness: the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the unconscious mind. In total, the mind's operational power has been researched to be made up of less than 10% of the conscious mind. Scientists have also attributed the conscious mind to be responsible for collecting data, accessing the collected data, and processing it, making comparisons and finding patterns, decision-making, thought processing before making knee-jerk reactions, and the control of short-span memory. The conscious mind is a host of deliberate thoughts and awareness. The subconscious mind makes up the part of the mind that stores information continually, giving out reactions that are based on past experiences and emotions associated with a person, place, or thing. Contrary to popular belief, it is the subconscious that projects the inner feelings and responses, while the conscious draws in one's reins. The subconscious takes about 50 to 60% of the mind. It is that part of the mind that holds information, as powerful as they can be, but approachable. It is responsible for the running of the body, such as sleeping, breathing, temperature control, heart rate, control of body parts, just to mention a few. It is the seat of emotion where creativity and imagination are produced. Habits are also formed and maintained by the layer of the mind. What then is the unconscious mind? Usually used synonymously in place of the subconscious, both terms are, in fact, different from one another. Why then the confusion between both terms, one might ask? One reason is the understanding of the medical term unconscious, which refers to a blackout state. The confusion also arises partly as a result of their interchangeable word usage, which is incorrect. Scientists have attempted explaining this part of the mind as the mental area where loathsome feelings, thoughts, memories, and ideas are repressed. These contents are capable of making the individual sick and are unaccepted to the conscious mind, majorly because of their alarming nature. With time, more light has been shed on the contents housed by the unconscious mind. It has been discovered that these mental contents are not necessarily evil, but they are very powerful to be contained in the conscious mind. A little prodding will not bring them to the surface, unlike those found in the subconscious. The intriguing plot to this part of our consciousness is that, in spite of it being rejected, it is not entirely discarded. It goes on to influence our actions and reactions to situations, though on a subliminal level. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist, went on to divide the unconscious mind into two layers. The personal unconscious, a part of the unconscious where formerly conscious mental contents are subdued forcefully. Another part of the unconscious that consists of experiences and genetic pieces of information which have been accumulated over the years is termed as the collective unconscious. Accessibility remains the major difference between the subconscious and the unconscious mind. This implies that the mental contents in the subconscious mind can be recalled when attention is brought to it. Unlike the subconscious, the unconscious mind requires specific techniques to retrieve repressed memories. These psychoanalytical methods are largely effective in retrieving mental contents from the unconscious mind. We sometimes recall information that is needed at the time or not. For instance, our home address. The subconscious mind is responsible for this. It plays out what it has been fed with, never acting independently, and so can be said to be purely instinctual. The unconscious is not fed. Traumatic memories, depressing thoughts, and alarming experiences are stored in this layer of the mind automatically. Both layers of the mind influence our actions. If we feed our subconscious with falsehood, we act in line with what we have fed it with. Meanwhile, our unconscious controls our decisions and behaviors based on thoughts and past events, unknown to our conscious self. This is how the different sections of the mind work in harmony. Our consciousness can once again be compared to a computer. The conscious mind can be represented by both input and output devices, such as the mouse or keyboard and a monitor. The keyboard is used in inputting data, which is displayed on the screen of the monitor. The conscious mind takes in information from our surrounding through our senses, and immediately the results show up in our consciousness. The subconscious functions as a computer's RAM, where data and programs that are being used at the time are kept, in order to be easily accessed by the computer's processor. Recent memories are stored up in the subconscious for a quick recollection, like your home address, mentioned earlier, or the name of someone you met a few moments back. Daily routines and recurring thought processes, habits, behavioral patterns, and feelings are stored here. The unconscious mind is the site for long-term storage of all programs or memories in this context since the time of birth. Both the unconscious and the subconscious mind gets an understanding of the world using all these memories found in the unconscious. The sense made out of these memories ensures we are kept safe and we survive varying circumstances. These two mind sections function on the logic that if something worked for you in the past, it will do so over and over again using the same process. This is regardless of how painful, misguided, and unhelpful the result is to your existence to the world outside. What then about your feelings and emotions?